Hello and welcome. My name is Sinje Seidler, and I'm from Product Management of SAP Cloud ALM. And I'm not here alone. Jack, please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Singh. So I'm Jagmohan Singh Chawla or Jag. I'm also a product manager with SAP Cloud ALM, and I wanted to share some tips and tricks of using SAP Cloud ALM in different situations. So let's get started.
Great. Thanks for taking the time. Jack, as you know, I talk to a lot of customers and partners. I do introduction to the tool SAP Cloud ALM for implementation. And I get a lot of these questions because, the tool is quite flexible, which is really great. But a customer sometimes have problems to understand in his particular situation, what's the best way to use the tool. So today I would like to ask you some of the questions that I get from customers and partners. Is it okay?
Yes, definitely. Please go
All
ahead.
right. Let's get started. So let's start with the situation that we have a customer, which is a rather small or mid-sized customer. So the project team is rather small, and this customer is supported by a partner. The
Okay.
customer is new to SAP, so they don't have a lot of knowledge on how to implement SAP S/4HANA Cloud. That's the situation. What would be your recommendation for such a customer?
Okay, so I think great starting point. So as a customer who doesn't know SAP Cloud ALM helps a lot because the content and the methodology is built into the tool itself. And I hope the partner is an experienced one and is aware of the tips and tricks. So when you log on, then you see these styles. And also this can be a bit confusing on where to start. So you can start with this overview page for reporting, which comes a bit later in the game. But when you're really starting from the absolute beginning, then you have to start with this projects and setup. So now the situation you said that the customer is new to SAP. So there we have a capability of these activate roadmaps. So the tool comes built in methodology and we have an entire catalog. So it depends on the which product customer is implementing. Partner can make the selection on behalf of the customer, and this will bring the methodology and convert that into an instruction set. So that way, there is a huge jump start for the customer and the partner to get started. Then there is also process content, and maybe let's discuss that in more advanced situations. But the idea is there are a lot of best practices processes coming from SAP that are also available, which then are included in the scoping stage for the project. And one thing you also mentioned is that it's a small group. If it's a very small group of people, maybe 10 or 12, you don't even really need to understand the team concept. That means one team called the PMO team is created by default. You just add the people who are going to be working in the project in the right roles, and that's it. That's all you need. In this example, I'm using the public demo tenant in which you see all these icons, which are actually custom roles, which may sound overwhelming, but you can always deactivate these custom roles. So that means if it's a shared tenant, which is true in cases in which maybe there are some experienced partners who have previously created a lot of projects which are overwhelming to you, you can deactivate all these custom roles and you can just manage with the SAP delivered standard roles, just one team, assign people, and get them started.
Okay, one question about the standard roles. How do I get more information of these roles and where do they come from?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the role list is built into the tool, and we get that from SAP Activate methodology itself. So as a customer, you don't have to worry. To read what each role means, there is a role description. So what I have done is I have stepped outside from the project in the left pane. I have clicked on this role tab, and now I have selected one of the standard roles, which you see that there is no special icon, and you can read the description. And this is the envisioned usage of this role. Okay, so we have standard roles such as data migration expert, business expert, things like that. And if you create your own role, then you as a customer then define the role title and the role description.
Are there any advantages of using the pre-delivered roles from Activate?
Oh yeah, definitely. The advantage is when SAP Activate content is delivered, it is pre-distributed to these roles. So I think you will understand it better once I show you the task list. So I've
All right.
navigated to the task list by the side panel. And so your question was, what is the advantage of using this pre-delivered roles, right?
Mm-hmm.
The tasks, so this is the task list, which is basically the working environment for the project lead as well as a project member. And there could be many members in the team. And now we can use a pull system or a push system. So the pull system is if you're a business expert, then you can just go and click on a special role. I mean, it's a pre-delivered role, business process expert, and that's it. And now you see there are three tasks which are awaiting the attention of a business process expert. And you don't see the role in the column below, which you can easily fix by using the column settings. And that's actually then very easy. Then that means this view is for a business process expert, irrespective of the team, irrespective of the person, and then you can self-assign yourself and start working on the task. This is the advantage of pre-delivered roles.
Great. So I just need to onboard some people with the respective roles, and they get the inbox with all the tasks they need to perform in the project.
Yes, so the project lead has to do the assignment himself as one additional step. And the reason is, let's take this example. Three tasks are assigned to business process experts. And now imagine there are four business experts. The tool cannot decide which task should be assigned to which. So the project lead has to do one additional click and assign the right person. But the good news is you don't have to do it one by one. You can just select these tasks and go into mass edit. And in case it's the same person, then you can do that easily by using the responsible field.
Great. And let's say if I used my own project roles and I defined them by myself, I can also mass maintain the role now and switch it to my own roles here in this view.
Yes, that should be possible. So that means this assigned role is also easily manipulated. You can pick any other custom role one by one, or in this case, you requested mass selection. So I'll pick not three, but two tasks, go into this and pick a different role. So let's say CFO sponsor. And that way, okay, in this case, I had a filter on assigned role. So you can see it's a live system. So I'll take out the assigned role and then we should see, and then actually I'll find CFO sponsor. And you see that the selection took its effect and the role was changed from a standard role to a custom role.
That looks like it's easy to be done. Great.
Yes.
Okay, so let's go ahead with our example. The small project team is now assigned, and now they want to go with SAP standard best practice processes from S/4HANA Cloud. And they also would like to implement in a more agile approach. What should the customer or partner do?
Okay, so you mentioned two things. The first thing is, let's cover the first thing, which you said the process angle, in which they want to use the standard process content from SAP S/4HANA Cloud. So here, what they need to understand is an entity called scope. So scope is an aggregated dimension to handle your processes. And as a customer or a partner, you can create as many scopes as you want. And you can even upload them from a file, especially if you're a partner and you have done it once. You may not want to do it again and again for every customer. So you can have a prepared list, which you can import. But in this case, let's start by just creating a scope manually. And you can say, so maybe it is Plant Paris, and you said it is SAP S/4HANA Cloud. So I'm going to select it. Okay, so I have SAP S/4HANA Cloud selected, and my scope is created. And here, the scope is created for a particular version of a content. So this is also a huge advantage of SAP Cloud ALM that you always get the latest version and you as a customer or partner do not need to worry on where is the content recent or not. And also, before we proceed, it's extremely important to see what additional things you get on top of the BPM and diagrams. There is a whole set of assets that are there, such as tutorials, what's new, presentations, master data overview, which is extremely beneficial and gives a huge jump start. And now let's see
Great.
what's inside. And I see basically now a large process library. So I have a potential to select 840 processes into my scope, plant Paris, and I can do that one by one. I can also be careful to the country region information which is provided with each process version. So I don't want to confuse you or the customers more. I think for this stage, this is sufficient. That means in this case, let's assume the customer had just 4 processes. They put them into a scope. They end the scoping so that they are not overwhelmed by this huge process list next time and they can begin their work. Your second question was about the agile way of working. I'm back into my project setup. I have a field called time boxes. And here you have a 3-level time boxing available. We have the phases, we have the sprints, and the milestones. Since you said agile, I assume the customer wants to work with sprints. So you go into an edit mode and you can create sprints. So does that answer your question?
Absolutely. That also sounds like it's easy to do. Can I later on switch and change the time boxes?
Yeah, sure. So you can change the dates, which is also a common project situation. You can even create overlapping sprints if your teams work in different sprint rhythms. We do not block it. In fact, you can also work with this toggle in which you kind of want to lock the sprint and stop it from accepting more work. So you can also use this switch and you can open and close a sprint.
Great. Thanks for sharing this. Now let's go to another situation, Jack, if it's okay.
Yeah.
Let's say we have now a bigger project, actually more like a program that a customer is running, where there are multiple project teams. So let's take the example that we have an S/4HANA as well as a SuccessFactors implementation running at the same time. But each team is different from a user perspective and also from the timing perspective. How could we use Cloud ALM for managing these parallel projects?
Okay. I think that's a great question. To put it into perspective, there is one option to keep things in same project, but I have to be very careful here. You said in this case, the teams actually have completely different timelines. That's your first big cue. If the timelines, such as the phase, the sprints, and milestones, they are completely different, that means they actually need their own space. Because you also said that the teams for S/4HANA Cloud are different from the teams from SuccessFactors. So you actually should create a new project. So in this case, actually for SuccessFactors, I've already created a project. So you have a completely separation of data from one project to another. You can also decide, if you choose to, that the team in SuccessFactors is unable to see the data from S/4HANA Cloud, but still they will be able to work on same timelines. And that's something kind of an advanced topic. I don't know if you want to go there, but that's the release management.
Mm. Let's take the example with the SuccessFactors and the S/4HANA cloud project. So now we're having two different projects. However, I want to assure that both projects are running with the same releases. How can I
Ah,
manage this?
okay, great question. So you said they have both the same release. So I would assume they have kind of a common heartbeat, a common rhythm, a common timeline. And actually
Exactly.
different landscapes, right? Is that a fair understanding?
You got it, Jack.
Okay, then we go really deep. So we have this two tabs, system groups and deployment plans. So let's spend a little bit of time understanding. So the first one is system groups, and here you maintain your landscapes. So system group is nothing but a collection of systems for a common purpose, but for one product line. So in this case, I'll have a system group for SuccessFactors and another system group for SAP S/4HANA Cloud. So let's see how does it look like. So as I explained, I have two system groups, one for SAP S/4HANA Cloud, one for SuccessFactors. Both can have their own description and individual set of tenants that they are going to use. So far, they are completely separate. But you want to manage them together with a common release schedule. And here I can make a guess that maybe you want to have common end-to-end integration testing for payroll processing, and you want both teams to be ready at the same time. Is that the right direction?
I think you got it exactly. Yes.
Okay. So that means I need an entity that bundles them together, but still gives a common timeline. So that entity should have a time dimension as well as a landscape dimension. And that entity is called a deployment plan. So I have a deployment plan in which I have two system groups assigned. I can go into the edit mode and I can show you how it is done. It's very easy. You click on the assign option and you assign the system groups. And then this is the release that you are asking. So that means I define a release schedule, and this release schedule is not for an individual project. This release schedule is for a deployment plan. And then I do the last piece. I assign the same deployment plan to multiple projects, which means the projects now have dual timelines. The projects have a local timeline, which is coming from the time boxes, and a global timeline, which is coming from the release assigned to the deployment plan. Are you still with me or are you lost?
Absolutely. So if I got it right, if I'm the project manager for the SuccessFactors project, I use my time boxes like the sprints that we discussed before in order to organize my work within the project. However, the bigger things that have impact on the other projects, like the S4HANA Cloud project, there I need to make sure that they are in alignment with our release plan. And I can use these releases then for integration testing and yeah, making sure that everything is done before the release can be closed.
Perfect. So let's see. Let's validate it. So as you described, in the SuccessFactors project, I have my local time boxing and I have the deployment plan, which gives me the release timelines. Okay, so any questions so far?
Yes, Jack. Now with setting up the multiple releases and the time boxes, how can I ensure that everything fits together now?
Great question. So you're already thinking as a release manager. I really like this approach. For a release manager, we have a special application called Release and Timelines. And you see it right in your Fury Launchpad. Once you click there, you see this screen and you see a timeline view. And this view is exactly what you're asking. I see the release timeline. I see the projects which are consuming this release, and I also see the phase and sprints of those projects. So I can easily see if I have lined up my ducks correctly or if I have to make some adjustments.
Great. And if the individual projects are now working in their tasks, can they see also the releases in that Gantt chart?
Okay, great. Perfect. I think this is really I like your way of thinking. That means as a project lead, maybe this view is too overwhelming for you because if you are a SuccessFactors project manager, you don't really care on the S/4HANA Cloud project per se assets. So as a project lead, how can you see it together? So as a project lead, my main working environment is my task list. And in my task list, you are absolutely right. There is this Gantt chart view. And if I go there, then I see my release timelines and my project timelines together. So at the top, I have the release, even there is a closed release. So I see that I have an active release. And and here I see actually the sprint timeline. So you see the release and sprint together. And if the tasks have the durations maintained, then you can see that in the Gantt chart, you see the nice visualization of how individual tasks are then lined up to the timelines for release and sprints.
That looks great. Thanks, Jack. Okay. Now let's take another example, Jack. I understand now how to work within one project or how to really set up Cloud ALM to have multiple projects running in parallel. So let's say we have one project S/4HANA Cloud implementation, but we still want to work with a multi-country rollouts. So I would like to show multiple rollouts within my projects. How do I do that?
Okay, so just to get it right, you are a project lead and you have just one project because maybe it's same set of people and those people then move from one rollout to another, and but you want to keep things tidy, so you don't want to exponentially blow the number of projects, right?
Exactly. We keep it simple.
Then you have basically in a way two different time boxes that have a interplay. So one is that each country can be in a different phase because of the different activities and they can actually be happening at the same time. That means maybe the country one realize is happening when the country two explore is happening, right? So here we have the option to depict it via custom phases. So how you do that is very simple. You click on the edit button, you click on the plus icon, and you have a custom phase added. And the advantage is they get automatically sorted based on the dates maintained. Okay. So that way you are able to separate the activities for each country within the same project by using a custom phase concept. Right? Are we fine so far?
Totally.
But then I think the key problem that we get into a multi-country rollout is how to stagger deployments. How to protect your release for one country versus release for another country, right? To do that, it is really important to understand that the deployment plan and the release concept is applicable even if you have one single project. So the key message is you can create a multi-country deployment plan, and in that deployment plan, you can have a country-specific release. So let's see how it can look like. So I have created a multi-country deployment plan, and in this, I have a timeline for each country, and this timeline is not an operational timeline of the work being done, but you can think of it as deployment timeline. You want to clearly separate the deployment definitions of each country, but you want the project lead to be aware of these timelines that this person has to meet. So you have completely different deployment timelines for country one and country two in the same deployment plan. You assign the deployment plan to the project, and then we are in the old design that we discussed. That means now the project lead is aware of the local planning of tasks based on the kind of activities that are happening at a country level. And when it comes to deployment, which is basically in the features, then you can work in the same project, but you can create, let's say, if I have to create a feature for country one versus country two, and when it comes to features, which is the main deployment entity, then you have to separate the definition of each release because you can go into the feature and then when you look at the release, then you see the timeline coming from the release. So that way, within the same project, you are separating the definition of features in releases and you are still working on multiple countries by not exploding the number of projects.
Okay, so I use the time boxes that I created to organize the task across my project teams. However, the releases are really then summarizing what's being deployed. Is it correct?
Exactly. So release is the strongest entity for deployment, and this is why it plays a strong role in features. Whenever you have feature traceability, then you can use release as a filter. So that means the same project has now multiple releases, one per country, and you can work within the same project and handle a multi-country rollout.
Very nice. Thanks for sharing this, Jack.
Okay, I'm really tired, Sinje. I don't think I can answer any more questions now.
Yeah. Oh, Jack, I learned so much. Thank you so much. Your brain must be empty now, so I release you for today. But I'm looking forward to another session where I can ask you much more questions.
Yeah, definitely. And honestly, I think we have a very active community. If you are still struggling with some concepts, please visit our Activate community page. We'll put the link in the description. And here, experts help experts. Even you can become part of the community by publishing a blog post or answering a question in the Q&A. So, hope you enjoyed this video and thanks and have a great day.
Bye bye. See you next time.